Hello and welcome. We are at the Sunshine Coast Policing and Public Safety Committee. It is 2021, Thursday, January the 21st. So welcome everyone. Thank you for attending. If I can call this meeting to order, and it is 2:07. First, I'd just like to acknowledge that we are gathered on the traditional territories of the Sechelt and the Squamish people. Um, so we have an agenda before us. It's an amended agenda, which added a number of the items. And Director Ties, you had an item you wanted to add, is that right?
Yes,
New business?
and that's the medical cannabis and the federal government advocacy.
And that was the resolution that came before board on the 14th?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, so any other additions to the agenda? Okay, seeing none, if we may have a motion to adopt the agenda as amended. We got lots there, so I think we're ready to go. And if I may, it's okay if I use first names rather than all of our stuff. Thank you very much. So first up, we have Poppy Hallam. Poppy, you're going to present something on performance planning, I see.
Good afternoon. I'm sorry I'm not able to screen share because I use a cell phone. Zoom is not a recognized platform by the RCMP for our computer system, as you can imagine. And so therefore I have to use a cell phone. And so I can't do the sharing that I would normally do. Oh, sorry, someone's saying we didn't approve the minutes.
We were just adopting the minutes of the second one, number 3. So we didn't approve the minutes. That's number 3 on the agenda. Okay. Continue on, Poppy.
Okay, so what happens for us? So we are now in 2021, and so annual performance planning and coming up with strategic priorities for directing the policing activities. I'm looking for input today. I've done this in the past with this panel. I've done PowerPoint presentation with you and kind of gone over sort of what the pillars are. I think you might sort of remember from my last presentations, it's the terminology that the RCMP uses under sort of the different umbrellas of how they like us to performance manage and what the priorities are. And so what today is for me is this is me wanting to have a conversation with you guys and seeking out the things that are important, what you want from your police, what you want us to focus on from 2021 to 2023. So the April 2021, and we'll focus on it till April 2023. Things may change and I can tailor them and change as we go, because I'm sure we can all have some agreement that things are changing and we're seeing some different needs from the police. And with COVID, I mean, that's the big thing, we've had to adapt, all of us, as to how we deliver our services and the things that the police have to do when it comes to COVID. So I'm going to suggest we won't worry about COVID so much. I want to know, because hopefully this year we will get through it and we'll get vaccinated and things will happen and we'll hopefully be able to get through it. And so I really want to just focus what your needs are for your areas, the things that you would like us to focus on. And I can direct it a little bit.
So the period we're talking about is April 2021 to April 2022 or 23? I wasn't sure.
23. I would like to do a 2-year plan because I think in order to really measure the accomplishments that we're making, I think we need to give ourselves time to kind of dig into some of these things. So I just want to say, we've had some of the things that I focused on in the last 2 years has been working on using social media and using the media to get messaging out, to share information with our communities. so that the public knows what the police are doing, what the public knows, what we need from them. And we also are thanking the public too, like for their help in solving crime and leveraging that information and utilizing the stuff that information that the public has. Some of the things, I think that was quite well done for us last year. I think we've had a lot of engagement. We had started a Facebook page last year. Our Sunshine Coast RCMP didn't have a Facebook page, and so we started that. So we've had Facebook and Twitter utilized, and as well as our RCMP BC Media website. And that's where the local media can grab anything. And so we post everything there, including our weekly updates. So we have a central place, but then we also are able to tweet it out and share it. And we have some of the FYI Facebook pages and stuff sharing our information. They'll get it right away and share it out. So I'm feeling successful with that. I think the messaging has been pretty good. We've also, so you guys know, one of the things that I focused on was technology, and you can laugh because I have to use the cell phone still. But all of my members have smartphones now, so they can use those to take statements, to take photos, to share information, and take calls and make calls to the public from any place where you have cell phone coverage. We also have laptops. I purchased a bunch more laptops so that we have capability for people to work from home, especially with COVID, but also for our specialized units to take work and go workplaces. We've got, I got purchased stuff so that the members could do some surveillance, the equipment that they need for that. More radar systems, more in-car cameras, just technology in general, just trying to bring the detachment up in technology. So, and it helps us deliver policing and streamline things. We've got a new telephone system, which also has good conferencing capabilities and proper voicemail. I mean, I know you guys will laugh, but this is the kind of stuff that happens. And so technology was a big one for me for this past year. Primacy of operations, we finally, having our general investigation section staffed up. I think you'll probably have seen through some of the media releases that we've done done a lot of search warrants, and we've collected stolen goods, and we've held some of our prolific offenders accountable for what they've been doing. We've been putting a lot of charges up through the courts. Our general investigation section supports Frontline. So when the front lines get these heavy calls, GIS will come in and they'll help them on the back end, and they'll write the warrants, and they'll help them do the follow up on tips, take statements, go collect video evidence, canvassing neighborhoods. We've had a lot of calls for service, so we've been quite busy, and I think we're delivering a good, solid police service, and I think it's been a good year despite everything, despite COVID and all of that stuff. So going forward, I think, we've had to change from a lot of the proactive foot patrols and things that we try to do. We've had to move them more into, and I've said it before, into more covert type stuff, into more specific targeting of prolific offenders. Especially with our drugs and property crime, it's really important to put our effort into dismantling organized crime and to focus on the serious crime. So that will be there, that primacy of operations, delivering, really digging into the serious and organized crime. And because it's here on the coast, and we're digging in. And we're making some progress, and we're going to keep going. But I think it's really important too is, there's the visibility around the schools, the safety around our vulnerable, our issues with homelessness, and so I really want to know what it is for everybody's areas, and you can send me emails. Today was just to kind of have the conversation and say, hey, can you guys think about what is really important for each of your areas? maybe even the top 3 things that you would like to see us focus on, and then I'll collect this data, and then we'll make some decisions, and I'll use these to help guide what we do.
So you would like us each individually to offline send you our top 3 email policing public safety topics to you by when? When do you want these things?
Well, I would like to have by March 1st, I'd like to have my APP, because what I would like to do, and I don't know, I'm sure some of you have it already off the top of your head, because this is important to you. The sooner you can get it to me, the better, because then what I do is I'll compile it. I also meet with my detachment, and I say to my people, okay, these are the things that we need. This is what our communities are looking for from us. How can we deliver this? What do you think is reasonable? What do you think, what kind of targets and measurables can we do? Like, what, do we need to do more? See, this with COVID, it's been difficult, but say like more roadblocks or more foot patrols or more curfew checks, or like what things are measurable? More violation tickets, more speeding tickets, more, what is it that we can do that will action the things that our community needs? Okay.
So you're assigning us homework.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do we want to have anything? So is it clear what we're going to do this offline? So we don't need a motion or anything. We just take.
I think so, because I want to give you a chance to sort of think about it, but I'm going to give you guys, and I can send you something via email too, which will be helpful, I'm sure. But I just want you guys to think about, so these are the pillars like in public safety that the BC RCMP is looking at for us as RCMP to, like, some of the things that they would expect that we would most likely focus on based on years past and what seems to be pressing with the province. So road safety, which is always something for us on the Sunshine Coast. Road safety is really important. Opioids, because we do have a high number of opioid overdoses and deaths on the coast. It's definitely prolific offenders. So those are our property criminals and who are chronic causing problems, the people that are downtown and causing problems and causing mischief or break-ins, or how are we going to deal with them? And is that a problem for your area? Cyber and technical crime. We do have a lot of fraud on the Sunshine Coast. We get lots of calls, and I think you probably see that on our weekly police reports about the latest scams that people are, we're constantly getting phone calls. Any of us, I get them too. Money laundering. So that's, and there is, we do have, not money laundering per se. However, anytime there is organized crime, that money has to go somewhere, and it can be used for businesses and illegal activity in our businesses. So it may not be something that we directly focus on the Sunshine Coast. It might be something that's in the bigger detachments, but there's bleed over. There's restorative justice, which has been a little bit not as active just because of COVID. It's harder to have the circles and Zoom and stuff. It's not quite the same, but they've been doing the best they can. Victim services and how we support, and is there programs and things that we can do. Mental health, addictions, and harm reduction. I mean, it's obvious to all of us that is something that's affecting all of our communities, province-wide, and especially on the coast. Violence in relationships and domestic violence, reducing such and supporting families and victims. Reconciliation, Indigenous reconciliation. Identification of gaps in partnership and services for those at risk. So, and I think right now we have a good relationship with all of our local government partners around supporting, but moving forward, we need to keep that momentum, and we have to look for new ways of doing that. So outreach initiatives, right? What kind of outreach enforcement teams, if we need to have mental health outreach, we need special police officers focused on that. Community engagement, which is also that reconciliation piece, but the community engagement with our Indigenous especially. And then the modernization side of online crime reporting, which we have on the Sunshine Coast now, but digital evidence, the things that I'm trying to do with technology, and enhancement and modernization of business processes, and that for me, that's my thing, not for you guys, but for me, just getting the most updated user-friendly equipment and trying to streamline some of our processes to give the officers more time to spend actually dealing with enforcement and education, and not spending so much time on the court processes. So those are kind of what they're looking at for us to touch on. And I think there's a few things in there that I'm sure you guys have some thoughts on, and anything that falls in there. And then we're allowed to develop our own for special, like whatever that we need on the Sunshine Coast.
Okay. So I got a couple things going. I got a couple of questions from people.
Okay.
And I'm also being prompted that it's probably better to have a motion to kind of get this to the board so that they're reminded to do this, rather than relying on our good behavior all the time, but just to prompt us a little bit. So I'm going to hold that for a second, but I got Donna and then Darnelda.
Sorry, technical problems here too. I can certainly tell you what I get complaints about. Whether those are the most important public safety issues is another question. Because in all fairness, I don't really have a sense of how many domestic problems there are in my area, or, things that aren't visible. I can tell you that everybody wants to complain about parking in rural areas, but is that really an important public safety issue? I kind of wonder. Don't tell anyone I said that. Yeah, so I will struggle with this one a little. Just saying.
But
Poppy,
that's also part of, but so you know what though, Donna, that there's nothing wrong with that, because that's part of road safety. Because if people are worried because they're trying to get in and out of their car and someone's going to hit them, or they can't make the turn because there's not parking. So there's nothing wrong with that, because there is money every summer. There's enhanced policing money for patrols, which you did in your area in Bonnybrook Beach, and the parking and stuff like that. So those things are important to people on the Sunshine Coast. And so I need to know that. There's nothing wrong with that. Please give that as one of your things, because it is a problem. Because the more people that come to the coast, and the more visitors, and the more things, the more issues that we have, and the safety around that. I mean, somebody could easily step out and get hit by a car. So that falls under road safety, and totally escalate it. And you don't have to have 3, you can give me more, and then we can figure out what we need.
Okay, that's Donna. Now we got Darnelda, and followed by David.
Yeah, one of the things that we've asked the RCMP over this last year to do some work around was the SEPTED stuff. So crime prevention through environmental design. Right? Yep. So, have you got proper lighting on your buildings so that, it deters people? Do you have security cameras? Those kinds of things. That's something we've been focusing on in Seashelt. I don't know if that's something else. I just want to throw it out there. It might be something else that some of your areas may want to have a bit of a focus on too, because they have people on the RCMP who are trained to come out and do little workshops and sessions with people around how to do that.
It could apply to SCRD buildings as well, recreation facilities. Totally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. And David.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just wondering, Sergeant Hallam, and it's perhaps Mayor Beamish is aware of this already, but it hasn't come down through the network. There had been indication that the sort of on-staff presence working out of the Gibson's detachment was going to be upgraded in light of the supportive housing opening imminently. I'm just wondering, has there been an update on that?
We have come up with an internal plan about what we want to do, and I'll communicate it with you guys. as far as moving some offices around. I've actually spoken with our planners and designers around reorganizing some office space so that we can give, because it's a nice office in Gibson's, but I wouldn't mind adding a second private office in there so that I can have my GIS working out of there. Possibly sea to sky traffic. We haven't decided yet. So we're gonna start putting some units in there, like in a permanent way. It's just we have to decide how we want to do that and what that's going to look like. Who's going to be more permanently working out of that office, not just temporarily, but actually how we want to, because we're going to have to split our resources a bit and move people around. And I just want to put make sure that we've got the right people in there and the right office space for them. It's happening.
Go ahead, Dave, you got to follow?
Yeah, just briefly, would this be coinciding with the, ideally with the opening of the supportive housing, or are we going to see a bit of a time lag?
Yeah, we've been planning. It's all planning how that's going to look.
Great. Thank you for your support.
For sure.
And Darnell, you got something?
Yeah, just a comment actually in line with what David's talking about, and that is that we're anticipating that the supportive housing complex is going to open within the next week or so. Like the final occupancy hasn't been totally confirmed, but it's looking like within the next week or so. So just to give you a timeline, Poppy.
Yeah, I have that timeline.
Okay,
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, no, I'm aware. It's about allocating resources, provincial resources for everyone's awareness on the board, the District of Sechelt funds positions, and then the rest is funded through the province. And so allocating resources, if I'm going to put resources and to split them up, I'm going to make sure that they're split up provincially and the District of Sechelt. And so there's some things that I have to do. And I've actually, so that you guys are aware, because you probably don't know, I did put in my business case, and I think this is important to bring up, whether that's important right now or later in this meeting. But I did submit a business case to the province, requested 4 regular members from the province. And so I had to speak with organization and class. So they look at my structure and they tell me where I can plug in positions based on how many supervisors I have and what my org class chart, like what my organizational chart looks like. And so I've requested 4 members from the province. I don't know when I'm going to hear, but it's been submitted. And I think we have a strong case based on our population, with our population to police officer ratios, with our crime statistics, and just the changes to some of the response to crime and mental health calls, and how we need to answer a lot of these calls with 2 members or more. And so I put in a strong case, worked hard on it, and I'm advocating for the Sunshine Coast and for the detachment, that we need an increase to our establishment. And in order to really forecast with Gibson's and meeting the needs of the community there as well, it's going to be important that we have the staff to do that. And so I've done that, and now we see what happens.
Okay, so again, just to kind of, I think we're getting close to wrapping up this piece. You are soliciting comments from the elected folks, or
yes, please,
around this table, not staff, right? This is strictly
elected. Yeah. What are the issues in your areas that you would like the police to focus on? We will select what we can, the top things that we can deliver on, and then I'll present to you what our performance plan is, probably April.
Okay. Are you going to send an email out to us to prompt us? Sure. Or
yeah, okay, no, I can do that. I just kind of wanted to have the conversation, and my apologies, there's been a lot on my plate in the last few days, and so I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants. I would have liked to have a PowerPoint and everything done for you, but there's some other things that have been competing, and so here we are, right?
Well, elected folks, does everyone kind of know what Poppy's asking of us? Yeah, okay. So just to complete this, So if someone, the idea is a motion to prompt the electeds to respond to the performance planning to be brought forward to the planning with Darnelda. You're going to move that motion. We got, okay, we got a second, got some, so did you take a stab at the language, or are we just going to say to respond to, that the elected folks respond to the performance planning as soon as possible?
I think Poppy's looking for it before March 1st.
Yes, if you don't mind, because I want to the sooner, so that I can solicit and work with my team to, so that they're part of the process. So that they can say, yeah, this is something we can do, and they have lots of good ideas on how they think we should roll out some of how we deal with the issues. So I really want them engaged and take that time. But my annual performance plan, I like it. It needs to be built by the end of April. So I like to get this part of the consultation, then with the members, then I can develop it, present it again, and then we action it.
Okay, so that the elected officials submit to Staff Sergeant Poppy Hallam prior to March 1st their priorities for policing services to become part of the Sunshine Coast RCMP annual performance planning document.
Yes.
Lovely. So in a roundabout way, we have it moved and seconded and the language cleaned up. Any further discussion on that item? Elton?
Yeah, and I don't know that it needs to necessarily be codified in the motion, but making sure that we take it back to our municipal councils for discussion and conversation, because I don't know that you need to necessarily, or you want to necessarily hear from every member of council as well individually. So we can make sure to bring that up with our councils in Sechelt and Gibsons too.
And this will come to planning. I can't remember when planning is. Third week now? Can't remember. It was second week? Okay. All right. So let's call it.
I've already received one, so you guys are on it.
All right. So we're going to wrap up. We got a motion on the floor. It's seconded. All those in favor of that motion? And everyone's got their hand up, so there are none opposed. So thank you. And so Bobby's going to send out a reminder. It's going to be on PCD, and yeah, respond as quickly as we can. Okay. I did neglect the receiving of presentations and reports, and so I'll motion on that and seconded, and all in favor of receiving those items. Thank you. Next up, we have the minutes from October the 15th. Seems like a year ago. So is there any clarifications, errors that anyone wants to address? Questions about that at all? That would have, I think it's in the agenda amended package as well. Yes. Anybody have that? Or else we'll just, and we've already received it. Any other questions on minutes? I have Donna. Yes, go ahead, Donna.
Yeah, me again. I was just wondering if there was any update on the situation with the police vehicle on Gambier Island, or if it's
an update. I think there's an update. Well, just to go, we did have a correspondence that made the circuitous route from November 12th to the 26th, and it was to refer it to bring it back in the second quarter of 2021, just to update. There has been, I don't know if you want, if you want it now, or you can wait till the second quarter, unless is that.
Do you want me to say something?
I'm almost thinking. Yeah, go ahead.
I can say something. So I have a vehicle. It's here. It's sitting here waiting to go. The location that was best for us as a police department was to use the property that BC Hydro and TELUS has. It's right up from Brighton Dock, and it's fenced. However, it's too small. They won't allow the police vehicle in there. They said it'll get in the way of their stuff. They will let us use power. And so basically the RCMP would have to do another driveway culvert, probably backfill with some soil and stuff because it's a fairly low swampy, and then add some more fencing. So that would require some surveying and some soil and whatever, some testing and things. And so it's a little more complicated than just getting to park our vehicle in something that already exists. We're not against that. It's just that I then have to get in line with other contracts, like RCMP paid contracts to like along with real property management building of things. So if that was what we wanted to do, then it could take a while because we have to make sure that the Gambier residents and stuff are okay with us doing that. It has to pass surveying and all this stuff. And then we looked at a couple other locations, and what was going to happen, according to the RCMP Real Property Management, is they were considering sending out a request to any private homeowners that might consider close to the dock, considering allowing the police vehicle to park on their private property, and we would enter into a lease, and the RCMP would pay for that parking. And so that's where we are with that right now, is deciding whether we want to just do that route or whether we want to look into the environmental study and the costs associated to building something sort of. And we're not against that by any means. It's just whatever works best to provide that vehicle. And that's my current knowledge about around the process.
Yeah, and what I can say is it was sort of summed up that squeaking in a car or a vehicle didn't quite work, and the scope kind of grew, and it's become more of a project than what was initially anticipated. So that's why there's not the resources available now to do it. So you have to queue up for those resources. How's that, Donna? Enough of a update? Okay. Any other questions about the minutes? If I may ask, Poppy, what do you call them? The mild out vehicles. So how long will you be able to hold onto that vehicle?
It's in my parking. I think I'm sure I have lots of time for it. It's just sitting here. It's fine. Okay. We just have to, there's nothing wrong with the vehicle. It's just that for the performance of vehicles, they have a max kilometer, and then and then the servicing, et cetera, just becomes too expensive. It was no cost to me to have this vehicle. I just asked to keep it and they let me, and it's all good. And it's not fully kitted out, so it's not a vehicle that's going to be used by my members to do anything regularly. It's got only the very basics in it, so it's ideal to put on the island. And we just hope that we could enter into some sort of lease agreement with something that was already existing. That's the best case scenario. I also don't want to have to get into a lease with somebody that's quite a long distance from the dock, because it not that it defeats the purpose, but sometimes time is of an essence when you have an emergency. And so we are just not at an impasse, just kind of ran into some roadblocks. But I really want to see this go through, because I think it's important for us to have things in place that can support operations and response time.
Okay, thank you. So moving forth then, if it's all right with everyone, we got item number 4, Annex B, pages 3 to 6. It's the Q4 October to December quarter stats and the monthly stats. So do you want to do any introduction, Poppy, on those, or?
Have people reviewed them? Because, I think like you look at some of it, and, COVID has driven a lot of the proactive stuff. And I mean, this is for the safety of the officers and the safety of the Sunshine Coast. I mean, the less interaction the better in that way. Like I'm all definitely trying to keep everybody safe, and so I haven't been pushing for some of the things like the foot patrols the way that we used to, but I'm also the response to crime. We've had a lot of serious crime. Some of it's not shown here, and again, I want to make some changes as to what we're reporting to you, because some of this stuff, might not be as important, because we have had some thefts. We've had mailbox thefts. Those were a real big problem for us in December. It spiked up our thefts, and we've had a few more in the last couple of days. Gibson's saw some increase into break and enters. They had a few more than normal, so they were the only one that saw some increase in the quarter for any crime that way, other than theft from motor vehicles. So looking at this page, it looks like crime is sort of down over the last quarter, but some crime is not down, and some of our violent offenses are definitely up. And our persons offenses, we've had, and I mean, you guys are aware of quite a few of those things just because I am sharing out a lot into the media. And I know that our Facebook and FYI pages are sharing stuff. They're sharing court dockets and all sorts of things now. It's quite interesting. But yeah, we have seen an increase to those kinds of things. You won't see that there. I ran our calls for service, and our calls for service have changed in the last few years. Like, our number one call for service used to be traffic. Our number one call for service is now disturbance. And so disturbances, as we know, can come in many forms. It can just be the sound of a scream or a yell. It can be a possible domestic in progress. It can be people fighting. It could be, multitude of things, but when those kind of calls come in, those require a two-person response, whereas a traffic, if we get a call of somebody who's driving and they're weaving, usually that would just one officer would be assigned to that, and maybe multiple officers are watching or looking out for that car, but one officer's assigned. Disturbance, if you get a call and you got to go to a location because there sounds like there might be a fight in progress, you're not going to send one officer. And so that shift, and that's what I was talking about, wanting to get more officers, is there's that shift, and we're really seeing the shift, and we're not the only community in BC that's seeing that shift. And we're really focusing on our illicit drugs, and my GIS team is working hard on that. We're also working on the property crime, and because when there's drugs, there's property crime, and I've said that before. And so the thefts and they actually, like, we're looking at them, they have been down, but some of the violence around some of it has gone up. I did say it was in November where we seized like 28 firearms. Like, it was unprecedented for the Sunshine Coast. Handguns, right? Like, that's just not what you would expect. And that's the shift. And it requires the more members response, and really extreme officer safety, and the mental health calls. And so anyways, so yeah, some of these have gone down. The road checks, because of COVID, I have not been pushing those. It's been responsive to the officers themselves seeing driving offenses and reported driving offenses rather than road checks. I don't want to put drivers who aren't committing any type of offense in the face of an officer for no need for COVID. I won't do that. But the tickets are going, like, those kinds of things, they do look down, but they're okay. We've had lots of impaired driving investigations, and especially if we had quite a few in this last few weeks. We had some good charges on those, but overall these stats are not exactly what I would have probably wanted to put on here, but that's what we've been reporting before, and I'll probably change it.
Okay, I got a couple of questions. David and then Darnelda.
Thank you, Chair. Sergeant Hallam, I understand in Gibson's there were some lock boxes that were compromised, and I'm just wondering, Was there any sort of immediate reported crime as a result of the compromise of these lock boxes, or was it something that was nipped in the bud once the lockbox compromise was discovered?
Well, the Heritage Playhouse was one of those that was compromised, and they did have a break and enter. And they were the ones that had the stereo, that stereo equipment and the iPad stolen. And I know of a couple others, and then we were engaged with the fire departments to get the keys out of there. So that was the big thing, was just getting engaged with anybody who had keys in those kind of, which is just too bad. And, you know, that's happened. And I know for Gibson's was the fellow from Surrey that was caught breaking into that one of your new builds on School Road. Yeah, he's sophisticated, prolific offender. So like when I say we need to focus on the prolific offenders, that's what we're doing. And because people like that are coming over to the Sunshine Coast and committing crime, and that's, you know, that was really good help of your people, your residents there that spotted this person jumping the fence, and then calling and staying and watching and directing our response. It was textbook perfect. And then what happened next was the officers started investigating and figuring out where this person was staying and what vehicle was associated, who was associated. And that's where we recovered stolen goods. And it's still under investigation. So, but yeah, we worked with the fire department right away on those key boxes.
David, something more?
Just in follow-up, back in the spring, we instituted the sort of business watch with a volunteer group. Would you suggest that it's possibly something we should be looking at reinstituting again?
Mm-hmm.
And
yes.
To that end, we've had inquiry from the community saying, hey, have you guys thought about starting it again? But did you find it was sufficiently helpful to justify restarting?
I always believe in it because it's an insurance policy. You don't really know when you're going to need it till you need it. So Corporal Filatui, he is my operations NCO, and he has been liaising with North Vancouver and their block watch, which I talked to you guys about before, and because we would really like to see that go, but it really needs the police's assistance as well. Like, so any of these programs, they need to have, the police need to be engaged. We need to support those programs. And right now, my concern is around capacity, and I've said it before, is I would like to see that be a municipal employee, like a support staff person, not a regular member, that supports these programs, because there's consistency with that. And I've said before, the police officers, the shift work and the transferring in and out and whatever. What is good is like that is something where a support staff person could work that program and still have access to information to share with volunteers and to solicit and support the program. And that's, I really think it's going to be really important for us to have that support staff position. Right now, we need to add that to our complement of employees for our staff. We really need to add it. That person would be the contact person and coordinate public safety projects. The person would do criminal record checks for people and disclosure. They could do disclosure for things. We need another support staff person, but I really strongly think that, and the coast wants it. I think the people are looking to be engaged with the police. They're looking for that, and it's ripe and it's ready. I just don't want to start something that people will feel let down. I want to have the capacity put in place. But I strongly think, like, I know Business Watch worked on, like, Sea Shelt is still going and it's very valuable. And Gibson's was the starting and super valuable, and we absolutely welcome it. And I just want to be able to support it.
Thank you.
And Darnelda?
Thank you. Further, I've got something else to say, but further to what Poppy has just mentioned, there is a budget proposal that's coming forward to our council to fund that position. So we'll see what happens through budget proposal. I know it came forward last year, and then when COVID hit and we were looking at cutting in various areas, we actually took it off out of the budget. It's coming forward again this year. So we'll see what I've already had some community members, some community associations say we're going to be lobbying for that position. So we'll be seeing some letters come forward to the district.
When is that
sorry?
coming to Seashell? When is that coming to Seashell Council?
It's going to be part of our budget deliberations this year.
This month's coming up then?
Not this month. This month we're going to be looking at sewer first. It'll be coming in February. Yeah, it'll be
Okay.
coming in February. Committee of the whole. Okay. Last night at our council meeting, we went over, we had these same reports, and one of the comments from one of the counselors, and they said, please, when you talk to Staff Sergeant tomorrow at the meeting, mention that they've noticed a drop in numbers and wanted to just ask about that. Now, you've said in some areas they've dropped, in others they haven't. So maybe you just want to address what's causing the drops.
Like drop in numbers with crime?
Yes.
Okay. Probably the type of crime, I guess.
Okay.
Because we had that string in December in Seashell, for instance, with theft of two vehicles, crashing through fences and crashing, and then not even a week later, break and enter / home invasion with a knife and some violence. Multiple houses tried to enter until that one was entered, and just the level of what needed to be dealt with that. A lot of mental health calls. And we unfortunately had a homicide in Gibson's. Some of these calls have been taken up a lot of policing resources, and when that happens, then the proactive stuff go down. But yeah, we had 2018 and 19 were big years, unfortunately, for break and enters, especially in Seashell. Like when you look in 2019, in the quarter was 31 break and enters. Still too many, having 18. But just a change in, we took that particular suspect and suspects were arrested and held accountable, and so that they stopped, and so there were some others. Now, we've also unfortunately had not as many people held in custody. And that's been a bit difficult for us because, we do lay 15 charges against one individual and they're released from custody back into the community, where we have to do the curfew checks and we have to monitor them. When pre-COVID, they would have been in a pre-trial and they would have been held until trial. There's not as many people being held. And our explanation is COVID. And so therefore the community and the police officers then don't get a break from some of these prolific offenders. And so Crown Council's been busier than ever. So I think, Darnelda, honestly, like there's not a lot of information on this. Like there's not a lot of files on here. And I think there could be more types of crime on this chart that would better show that some of the mental health calls and things where we have gone up. I've seen some misinformation posted online recently saying that crime has gone up 200%. That is not true. I can say that our calls for criminal code substantiated, meaning they occurred and we can prove it, calls of a criminal nature have gone up 50% since 2017 for the entire Sunshine Coast. So I had our crime analyst do some work for me in December. in 2017. I can almost remember the numbers off the top of my head, but I believe, like, just recalling from my memory, in 2017, I think we had like 1,164 substantiated criminal code calls for the entire Sunshine Coast. For 2020, it was 1,885. So that's 700 more criminal cases that our members are investigating, that they're doing statements and disclosure and Crown. They're being requested to testify in court. There's just a lot more to it. So our files are still sitting around the same at 9,000. We went over 9,000 this year for file count for the entire Sunshine Coast. But when you see that of those 9,000 files, almost 2,000 of them were chargeable criminal offenses that the members had to put work into. That's significant, and that's a significant drain on resources. And but a lot of it is persons offenses which are not reflected on here.
Thank you.
Makes sense. Okay. We're coming up to 3 o'clock, and we're kind of scheduled for another 15 minutes or so. And we got a couple of communication items that I think we have some guests on the panel who might be here for that. So unless there's the burning issue on stats, can we move on to the next items, the communications, if that's all right? Okay, thank you. Where are we? We've got 2 pieces of communications. And the thread that runs through them is school safety, mostly with children, seems to be. So I'm not sure how we want to go through this. I am interested in Louisa, who from ICBC. Thank you for joining us. Road safety is a big deal for ICBC. Have you attended this before, or I'm not sure how you ended up here, I guess is what I'm trying to.
I got the invite from Tracy recently. I'm actually new to this position. I'm not sure if you know Harvey Cooner was the road safety coordinator for ICBC before, and Harvey's moved on to another area closer to his home. So I live on the North Shore and started this position only a couple of months ago, so it's fairly new to me. And so I'm taking this opportunity to introduce myself and to let you know that we're here. And if there's any road safety outreach or such that you'd like some help with, I'm here, and I'll navigate through this position and what I'm able to help with, what you need, what your needs are for your communities. We do have an ICBC road safety calendar that is ready, and I could share with you if you want. I can send that out. It'll show our road safety campaigns over the years. We do have our distractions campaign coming out in March, and I'll be sharing information about that soon enough in the next little bit, next few weeks, probably early February. And I can share that with you. But mostly I'm here to learn from you and to get to know some faces and to let you know that we're here. If you need any help, feel free to reach out to me and we'll see what we can put together.
Terrific. We like the support.
Great.
I don't know if Harvey attended this in the past. I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Okay. And so you're dropping in, exposing yourself, or telling us what's going on, but you're not intending to. Are you intending to be a regular visitor?
If you'd like me to be, I can definitely listen in. If it works with my schedule, then yeah, I'm happy to do that.
Okay, thank you. And I got a question from Donna there.
Yeah, this is moving slightly into the territory of the next committee, but
yes,
we have a lot of road safety issues in the rural areas, and my understanding was that ICBC has ways of partnering with municipalities, but it's more difficult to partner with regional districts. So
yeah, and I have been having some sessions with Harvey to learn more about your areas and how it works. So as I learn more about that, I'll be able to speak more to it. I am in the session. I think it starts at 3:30 today. So I'll be listening into that and seeing how we can help and where my restrictions are and how much we can do. But yeah, as we kind of get through the next few months, as I understand how it all comes together.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Appendix C, the correspondence. I would say this is a passionate letter from a concerned parent, and there is a request that is looking for suggestions and input. Any ideas on suggestions on input? There is this the DPAC and the PACs and the school board, and children's safety, going to school, safe routes, all this kind of stuff. So does anybody have any thoughts on these two pieces of correspondence? Dawn has got the
Just a
idea.
brief thought. This was originally just on the Transportation Committee agenda, but we thought it was more directly related to policing, because there are existing signs that say don't speed in the school zone, and that issue, I think, is compliance rather than policy. I don't know if Poppy has any thoughts on that, but
Yeah, it's certainly compliance, Donna, 100%, right? I mean, speeding in school zone is a police responsibility. And that's unfortunate when that some of that stuff is, everything gets prioritized. And I can't blame it on resources, but I have to blame some of it on resources when we're pulled in directions and when we're pulled away from this. It's really important. So this is definitely part of our annual performance plan, part of our public safety, road safety. Yeah, I can, because we have the highway patrol. So Sea to Sky Highway Patrol, they don't report to me, but they work out of our office. They do school zones on provincial highways. And so they've done some school zone work. So I can see if they'd be willing to give us a hand with that. Just because the GD, the frontline people, school zones are a priority, but it's not, it gets balanced by calls for service. So yeah, it's tough.
Okay, I got Sue and then Darnelda.
Yeah, well, with regards to the school district, and I know that there are probably various schools who are experiencing the same issue, depending on where they're located. This issue, and I am the trustee representative for Cedar Grove Elementary School, so I do sit with them monthly, and this is a topic that comes up over and over and over again. I've also been involved with that school through my own children since 2004, and I know that it's an issue that has escalated over the years, and it's just it's seen little or no resolution in terms of trying to find a way to tamper down the speeders. The speeders are both residents and industrial vehicles, because we've kind of named it the Chester Road Speedway, because since the development of the area, i.e. Bonnybrook, etc., and all of that, it is a thoroughfare. And with the signage that's currently there, it's just not really. A lot of the parents have gone out and sort of done their own little patrol and tried to get people to, slow down and just to raise awareness, because I think one of the things that they're really looking for right now is public awareness and then signage visibility, because it is a school playground zone. It is both. And we are in partnership with the regional district with this playground. This is a partner and joint use, as you would say. And it's a 30K, and because it is school zone playground, it is 30K dawn to dusk, daily. And when we've approached, or not myself personally, but when the parents have reported that they've talked to people and said, you need to slow down, it has been met with a lot of, that's only at this time. And we're doing, there's not really a lot of compliance with that area, which kind of then joins onto Pratt Road very closely to that corner. And then Pratt has its own issues. But, in the past, we've sort of brought it up with everybody. I know with Poppy, there has been, as she says, cars sent to ticket. I don't know how successful that was, or it certainly slowed people down for the day when they saw the vehicle. But unfortunately, the vehicle can't just be sitting there all the time. So it's just one of those roadways that is really used a lot more than it used to be, and it's just one of those issues that the school has not really been able to find a good resolution to. And so they are looking for recommendations in terms of, letters to Ministry of Transportation or whatever. They don't really know. They've kind of got a question mark at the end of it because they've exhausted so many things in the past. They've put up some of their own stuff. They've had parents stand on the road. It's not really conducive to a crosswalk because it's really bush. It wouldn't go anywhere. It's not a crosswalk for kids. But when we're talking about the campaign that we're really doing within the school district right now of active travel and encouraging our children to become more active, it's just not a stretch of road that they can safely do that. And we just don't want an unimaginable, tragedy or anything to happen with our kids on that road. So we have a question mark, and anybody that has any viable input would be wonderful to hear.
Unresolved issues around Cedar Grove going back decades. Okay. And so Darnelda, comments?
Yes. So I remember last year, no, maybe year before, because I wasn't driving around then. There were some traffic, like flashing speed calming signs with people by Christensen Village. And I know because I didn't know it was a 30 zone there. And I saw them. They were, the sign was flashing, people were there waving their hands or whatever. I got the message. I drive 30 down there now. But those signs are available. Those like flashing signs are available. I believe it's I would reach, I don't know who's got them. I could find out for you who's got them.
Can I speak to that? Sorry.
Yeah.
Can I speak to that, Chair? I just wanted to say that this group of parents has approached. There was two fellows that were running it, and one of them unfortunately passed away. This is Speed Watch. Poppy would be
sort of.
familiar. Yeah. Poppy would be familiar with Speed Watch, and also Louisa, because this is an ICBC initiative, and so the equipment was taken back. The other fellow didn't want to continue doing it. The equipment was taken back to the ICBC office, and they're in the process right now, these parents, of initiating and trying to set. I agree with you, Darnelda. I think that it's an excellent idea, and it really is a huge awareness campaign, and it really will help people to see that number, realize how fast they're going, and slow down. And it's a wonderful idea. And so that's in the process right now. It's a fantastic idea. Okay. And I hope that they continue to pursue that, because that's a good one.
Right.
Sure.
And what the research, because we've been looking at them in Seashelt as well, what the research has been showing is that you don't leave them out permanently.
No. Right?
You put them out, you have them there for a while, and then you take them away. And then you bring them back again later. So we're actually, one of the budget things that came up last year was looking at purchasing one that could then be moved around the community.
And just further to that, the Gibson's Elementary did a campaign with Speed Watch a few years. They were having a lot of issues, even though School Hill and School Road, you wouldn't assume, but there was a lot of people traveling quite quickly up and down in front of the elementary school and on the side there. And it was very successful. in tempering down those speeds on that stretch of road. So absolutely.
If I may ask, Louisa, if you have any background on the Speedwatch program in terms of an update for the coast here?
I'm aware of the Speedwatch program. I've been out myself actually this morning. I was on the North Shore. As far as your communities, I'll check in with Harvey and see what's happening, and if the Speedwatch board is in fact back with us and where it's at. Who would be my best contact from your group as far as from what I can find and how I can help and how we can move forward with some more Speedwatch, I guess at Cedar Grove then?
It would be the Cedar Grove PAC group, and I think that there's some contact information on that letter.
Okay, great.
In the agenda package.
Sure.
And it's also on transportation. So our next meeting where we meet
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Excellent.
Well, and I'll just say that I do believe we still have the Speedwatch board in our detachment.
Is that maybe where it is then? I'm not aware of
we've
it
got
being
a Speedwatch board.
Okay.
We have the equipment. They should still be there. It was there last year. And we had trained volunteers from Davis Bay, and they actually had their Davis Bay Speedwatch group. You need to be trained and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So to use the equipment and stuff. So it's just we haven't been doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so
And the volunteers aren't
as far as
out.
I know, that's where we're at with it. And Louisa, we can touch base.
Perfect. Thanks, Coffee.
So there's coordination between Cedar Grove, ICBC, and RCMP on Speedwatch. That's kind of in the works. And so you report this back to Cedar Grove PAC then about that.
Absolutely. We had a few that wanted to come today in the gallery and just sort of listen and comment if needed, but they weren't able to make this one. They may be at the transportation meeting, but again, it's a topic that we really need to raise public awareness. So it's wonderful every opportunity. Certainly within the report that I take back to them, I report on these groups. If there's anything pertaining to them specifically, I absolutely will. Thank you.
So you can take back the comments to Tamara then. So any action from, nothing is needed from this committee at this point, I don't think, on that correspondence, or, okay. So we're getting close to the end of our time. So we have one other piece of correspondence. Unless there's any other questions on, that's Appendix C, Annex C. We'll go to Annex D if that's all right, and try to wrap her up pretty quickly here. Okay, so what is Annex D? All right, this is, I can speak a little bit to this, and maybe Stu. They're all, Miyuki has been successful in getting that grant. I think it's really good, and there's coordination between DPAC and that. I'm not sure about that. But there also already been signs put up on December 26th or something like this about it's got the two people walking with the yellow sign. So there has already been some sign enhancement at this corner at Forbes and YMCA Road and Port Mellon Highway. The piece in the letter, which is the we did talk about it a little bit at review, is that DPAC or SD46 approached the regional district to apply for funding. And this is one of these funny little things that has been stuck about SERD getting funding to put infrastructure onto Modi right-of-ways. And so this is still unresolved as far as I know. So the question I have is, what Modi has suggested that this is an action that the regional district can do, but it seems to be unclear about how and where this would even occur. So I don't know if there's it seems to be like a roundabout more than where people going around in circles, not showing where to get off on it, to make this action. So has anybody got any comments on Appendix D? Sue, thank you.
Donna had her hand up first.
Oh, sorry. So we got Donna, Sue, then Darnelda.
I'm just wondering if we shouldn't have the conversation in the next meeting, since there's
Okay.
a Modi component to it.
Okay. Sue?
And I agree with that as well. I think that certainly they've worked hard. As it is, I happen to be the PAC rep for Langdale Elementary as well, and that is my community, as you know, Mark. And so I have a vested interest as I walk by that piece of road every day. And I think they've accomplished a lot, but it's a little disappointing from what they requested in terms of help with a huge issue. They've got a little yellow sign with two people walking on it stuck in a rock right now. So okay, so we've got a ways to go here. I'm thinking, but I think it's an ongoing conversation. They're certainly working diligently, and they are involved with DPAC, and DPAC has also, the Chester Road stuff is in there too. They're really working hard. So thank you to Miyuki. She's really works hard for the community, and we'll see where we get. I mean, they're talking about parents doing a walk the school bus. They're trying to get those kids safely across that highway from school over to the subdivision, which is the YMCA subdivision. So there's lots of things in the works. I'm happy they got the grant, and things are moving forward.
Okay, so Darnell, I think you're getting close to the last comments here.
Yeah, I mean, in reading the letter, we have in the district of Sechelt, we've applied for that grant. We have access, we manage our roads. So active transportation networks in our municipality are something that we can do. And so the grant is applicable. I think they're looking at the regional district. My reading of this is they're looking at the regional district and saying, okay, regional district, why don't you fix your road? It's not a regional district road. So yes, I think we could bring this up in the next meeting and have that addressed. Is this on the agenda for the next one? I don't remember.
Yes.
Is it? Okay, cool.
Yes.
Thanks.
Okay, so this item will be carried on in the next committee meeting. And I see it's 3:18, and we should have a little bit of time before. Oh, and Andreas, you've got a comment.
Yeah, I had an item of new business that I was actually hoping to discuss with about Poppy and with Poppy especially.
Right. Apologies, Andreas. Sorry.
This past week we had a motion, a board motion that said enforcement and control of cannabis cultivation for medical purposes. And first of all, I'm wondering if you're aware of it, and second of all, whether you have any comments about that motion that was made.
Sorry, I don't. I'm not sure which motion, where was this?
Okay, this was at our board meeting on last Thursday. It's okay. Not everything gets disseminated as we well know. I could read it to you.
Andreas,
yeah.
Tracy could share screen because I believe she has. So if we wanted to share the text, I think Tracy has made that available if you wanted to read it on screen for us.
Okay.
Is that all right? Is Tracy able to do that?
All right. Here it is. Whereas the federal government of Canada legislates access to cannabis for medical purposes and the registration with Health Canada to produce a limited amount of cannabis for personal medical purposes and potentially as a designated person to produce for it. Most one more person. So you can grow
For one
cannabis for yourself and at most one other person. And whereas local authorities, including the RCMP, local governments, and provincial governments have no access to the information as to what amount is permitted to be grown and where it is grown, nor do they have the ability to control and regulate the amount grown. And whereas local governments cannot ensure and enforce that local building codes and land use, including plumbing, electrical, and ventilation requirements, are being adhered to as a result of the cultivation of cannabis and the human health and safety concerns that result from that inability, therefore be it resolved that the SCRD board write a letter to Member of Parliament Patrick Weiler and Federal Minister of Health Patty Hadju, requesting that local governments and the RCMP be given the ability and authority to adequately enforce and control cannabis cultivation for medical purposes. So that was what we put together, and I'd love to hear your comments on that.
Well, it's excellent. It's always been an issue for us as police when it comes to cannabis and enforcement of growing cannabis. Because when Health Canada came in years ago to allow for licensing, there was no enforcement provisions for us. And what we would do is we would get reports, and we still do, that cannabis growing, like grow ops, are operating illegally. Our job, we have to call Health Canada. We provide information to them about the address, etc. Usually it's just the address, to determine if there is a legal grow, a Health Canada legal grow. And they usually will tell us the name and how many plants, etc. And some of these grows are large, and so once it's legal, it makes it very difficult for us to do any type of enforcement unless we're able to follow and do surveillance and be able to determine whether what's happening there and whether these plants and dried cannabis is being given to the people that it's supposed to be grown for or being used that way. And so it makes it very difficult, and it's not always the type of investigation that we have the capacity or the time to put into to determine what people are doing with this cannabis. And so that's been really frustrating, especially in the SCRD with limited bylaws as far as enforcement. So I did have a meeting with Patrick Weiler. Gosh, I feel like it feels like forever ago, but no, maybe it was August, September, in regards specifically to some concerns of a legal grow in SCRD that's causing a problem with neighbors. And we've been looking into all of it and what we can do. It's been super frustrating. The most recent thing has been COVID, believe it or not, because people are coming and going. People are coming and clipping the plants, and it's not a business per se. And so therefore, if they're gathering, are they having a gathering and there's COVID concerns? This is the kind of enforcement and things that we have to think about is how can we what can we do about it? And we have to look at all of the options and what type of offenses are occurring. And very frustrating that, because people have the right to medicinal marijuana, totally get it, but it shouldn't be adversely affecting the use and enjoyment of your neighbors. An investigation and be able to document over a length of time how much these people are disturbing their neighbors. It's super frustrating. It's super frustrating for the police because we completely sympathize and empathize with people who are being disturbed by these grow ops that smell, that are loud, that are bright, that, it's not fair. And we absolutely brought these things to Patrick Weiler. I had a one-on-one meeting with him and some follow-up. He said he appreciated that we sort of laid it out for him, what it's like for a rural police officer here on the Sunshine Coast to investigate that, and how do we look after the people, the people who are disturbed by it. It's difficult. So I appreciate you guys taking the stance and escalating this as well.
Great. Just wanted to get your feedback. Thanks.
So Poppy has given seal of approval. Any other questions that you had there, Andreas, about wording or anything? Or
no, I think there might be an ing missing on the request, but other than that, that looks pretty good.
And so this has gone to board, and what is the status of the motion right now? Just it's waiting to be actioned. I think just the letter to be sent.
Yep, that's right.
Would the RCMP like a copy of this? Is this important to do? Is that useful at all, or?
Yes, please, because this is important because the public, we get complaints from the public feeling that the police are not doing what they can do. The public needs to understand what the rules are, and so we have to sort of educate and let the public know that we understand and that we feel for them, and it's frustrating, and that we're advocating, because we currently do have a complaint against the Sunshine Coast RCMP right now from the public saying you guys aren't doing what the most you can do to help us. And so it's very frustrating, and we feel badly, but it's difficult for us to do these investigations. And so, yeah, our hands are tied often. And then it falls back on resourcing. How much effort do you put in to see if what happened? Like, how do you track what is going on with that cannabis? Is it actually going to the people that it's supposed to be grown for? Is it going for illegal things? And how do you prove it? And how do you throw your resources at that? And so it's, it's difficult, and we empathize. So yes, if you can share that with me, that's really important, because it just demonstrates that we're working together to try to find resolution and help the community. So yes, please.
So do we need an action from this committee to have that happen? Any thoughts, Andreas, or anybody suggestions?
I'll make the motion that this be communicated with the RCMP.
And a seconder there? Thank you.
Could I suggest a slight wording change, that the letter, when it is written, a copy of it go to the RCMP?
Right.
Right. Otherwise, they'll get a copy of our recommendation.
Right.
But not necessarily the correspondence.
So that the correspondence has a copy to Staff Sergeant
Yes.
Poppy Helm. Okay.
Yes.
And Tracy, that seems reasonable. Okay, we'll assume that Tracy's okay with the language there. Any further discussion on this?
We need to vote on the motion.
Yes. So it's on the floor. All those in favor of the motion on the floor. Thank you very much. I think we should conclude. Thank you for the participation. It was really good. Nice to see Louisa and ICBC here. And the only person we didn't, Jesse, you're new here. If you could just briefly introduce yourself. I'm sorry I missed you.
Yeah, no problem at all. I came in really late. My apologies. We had a kind of an emergency EOC meeting that ended up overlapping. I'm Jesse. Some of you guys know me from the Sunshine Coast EOC, but I'm the operations and maintenance manager for the Seashell Nation, and I'm also assisting Peter Jemayeff, working underneath him. He's the director of the Seashell Indian Government SIGD, Seashell Indian Government District, which is the Seashell Nation municipality here on the coast.
Terrific. Okay, thank you. So let's conclude. Motion to adjourn, please. Done. Thank you. All those in favor? Thank you. Terrific. And Donna is next up with transportation, so don't run away and log into the next. So long, everyone. See you in a second.
Run away and log into